Good afternoon, Afro friends and family. Welcome to another edition of Afro News at Noonish. It is March 24th, 2025. I am here, Alexis Taylor, Afro Managing Editor, with some members of our amazing editorial team, Ms. Tashi McQueen and Ms. Megan Sales. Y'all, we are here to talk about some headlines and some highlights from the weekend, and I will kick it off here. We are nearly 1 year out from the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge here in Maryland. It has been 12 months, and the last 12 months have moved very quickly. This accident took place in the early morning hours of March 26, 2024, after a container ship, the Dolly, struck the bridge. And y'all, this accident sent more than 50,000 tons of steel and concrete crashing into the the Patapsco River. And along with it, unfortunately, 6 lives were lost. There were 6 workers on the bridge who did not survive this accident. Reconstruction of the bridge has been completely funded thanks to former President Joe Biden and legislators on the federal and state level. We've seen here in Maryland, Governor Wes Moore, and in Baltimore City, Mayor Brandon M. Scott working together to really help this area recover from this accident. The Port of Baltimore was closed and significantly impacted for 11 weeks. Traffic was not able to flow in and out of the port as normal. But in June 2024, the port reopened to traffic, and this area has tried to recover. Within weeks of the collapse, the Small Business Administration began offering assistance through the economic injury disaster loans, up to $2 million for entrepreneurs in the area who experienced some type of loss of revenue tied to the collapse of this bridge. So efforts to make whole the entrepreneurs and the families and the industries that were impacted by this collapse are still ongoing. We're still feeling the effects. If you take a drive through downtown Baltimore or South Baltimore, you will see that there has been a significant increase in traffic, but everyone has just banded together, and 1 year later, we're still working to fully recover from this accident. I know that there are new reports coming out when it comes to the integrity of bridges across the country. Ms. Tashi McQueen, can you speak a little bit more about those reports and what they're finding since the Francis Scott Key Bridge had this unfortunate accident, what they're finding when it comes to the risk for other bridges across the country? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Johns Hopkins University released a study today actually revealing that major U.S. bridges face an increased risk of ship collisions, with potentially catastrophic incidents expected to occur every few years. Though the annual chances of a bridge collapse from ship collision should be less than 1 in 10,000, the report finds that some of the nation's busiest bridges will likely be hit by ships within our lifetime. After the collapse of the Key Bridge, Johns Hopkins researchers conducted an urgent reassessment of bridge vulnerabilities nationwide, suggesting that the risk to such infrastructure had been underestimated. The study identifies that QEP Long Bridge near New Orleans and the San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge as particularly susceptible, estimating a high likelihood of ship collisions within the next 2 decades. And in particular, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge in Maryland is expected to experience ship collisions once every 86 years. So definitely read more of that report. It's on afro.com now.
All right, thank you for that, Tashi. Miss Megan Sales, what do you have for us?
Yeah, so I have some news about an upcoming public hearing in Baltimore that our publisher, Dr. Draper, is actually going to be a part of. On April 4th and 5th, the Maryland Lynching Truth and Reconciliation Commission will take to the Reginald F. Lewis Museum to discuss reparations for the legacy of racial terror lynchings in the state. Between 1854 and 1933, 38 Black citizens were lynched in Maryland. As Nicholas Creary, who is a leader of the MLTRC, put it, these represent open murder cases in the state. There are family members that never received justice for these deaths. The upcoming hearing is designed to devise avenues for legal redress and institutional accountability in response to the killings. It will be the last hearing that the commission hosts before writing its final report, which will be submitted to Governor Wes Moore by the end of the year. Throughout the 2 days, there will actually be some panel discussions led by scholars, expert witnesses, and community activists to examine the legacy of lynching in a variety of different areas, whether that's the criminal justice system or even in mental health in African Americans. One is going to be looking at the role that media has played in covering and reporting on lynching, and Dr. Draper is going to be a part of that panel. If you're interested in attending, they do want you to pre-register online, and there should be a link that's going to be shared on the stream right now, but you just have to pre-register. It's completely free. You don't have to pay for anything, but if you can't make it in person at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum, you can tune in virtually, and there will be a link on the Maryland Lynching Truth and Reconciliation Commission website on the day of the hearing, which again is going to be April 4th and 5th. And there's that link if you want to pre-register to attend in person. But if you can't make either, you can't tune in, you can't be in person, I'm going to be on the ground during the day of the hearing covering it, hopefully be able to get some video footage, but I'll also have a traditional story as well up on AFRO.com following that hearing.
All right, thank you for that, Megan. And I will just reiterate that you can find that coverage on AFRO.com. The report on the bridges is already up, so make sure that you are following us on social media and checking out AFRO.com for the reports that we speak on during the Afro News at Noonish sessions. That concludes another edition of Afro News at Noonish. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.